I mean, who doesn't love a gorgeous sunset in the afternoon? Hey guys, it's Danny Bell. Welcome back to the channel. I hope you all had an amazing spooky season, and we're jumping back into our overgrown cottagecore island of Maplebell, hoping to wrap this up here in the next month before fall finishes in Animal Crossing. Today we're working on a Lighthouse Perspective build. We're drawing inspiration from my besties, Cherie and Matilda. I really love these beautiful perspective builds that we have seen on the channel doing tours, and so we're going to be doing our own perspective build here on our island of Maplebell. I've already gotten started by placing a couple of pipes. We're going to pop over to the opposite side. We're going to be placing our player house over here in this area. So if you're looking to do something like this on your island, I find it easier personally if you're looking to do this on the back corner of your island, particularly if you have a river mouth area on your island. It does make this a little bit easier to do and accomplish. You can for sure do this if you're just willing to do a lot more terraforming, but I do find it a little bit easier to start near a river mouth. But let's get going. All right, so first things first, I have done a little bit of terraforming and built this up to the 3rd tier. I'm going to place down a little bit of path over here. I really love this fall pattern that we've been using all throughout the island. It's just really fun and cozy, and we've definitely been putting it all throughout Maplebell. So we're going to cover this area just to kind of fill it in, as well as on this 2nd tier area. Now I'm going to be disguising the pipe because for me, I wanted this area to not be reachable other than the pipe. So I'm going to go ahead and hide this pipe over in the cliff. Now, if you didn't want that, there's definitely a lot of fun ways you could decorate your perspective. If you didn't want it to be a place that was accessible at all, like my friends Cherie and Matilda, they had these areas in their island non-accessible. For instance, Matilda did her campsite area. It was incredible. So I highly recommend, if you haven't seen that island, I did a tour of that. It's a port-style island, absolutely stunning. She sort of tucked it away in the back corner of her island, did a lot of terraforming and stuck her campsite up there. There was no way to get to the campsite. I really think it's a great way if you're looking to kind of stick a building or a villager house, anything basically on your island that you don't necessarily need to access or want to access, you just want to use it as a decorative piece on your island. It's a really fantastic way to utilize some of the buildings on your island. So I highly recommend that. So be sure to check that out if you missed that tour. You can check it out in the subscriber island tour playlist, and I'll also link it in the description of this video if you want to check it out. For Cherie's island, hers was a perspective build that was done at sunset, so it's more of a shadow style build. I really love that as well. She did hers with some of the lighthouse pieces as well as a lot of the potted plants to kind of create a beautiful shadowy effect. So be sure to check out that tour as well if you're looking to do more of a shadow build on your island. It really sort of depends on what time of day you're looking to create this wow factor on your island. Now for us on Maplebell, I haven't 100% decided when we're going to upload the dream address for Maplebell, so I kind of wanted this particular build to be a little bit flexible, and at the end of the build I'll be sure to kind of give you an idea of what this will look like either in the morning, afternoon, and even in the evening or night hours, just to kind of show you the difference and how strikingly different a build can look at any different time of day. And I do highly recommend, if you're doing a perspective build and you already have decided when you want to upload your dream, definitely try to give the build a try during that time of day so that you're able to get an idea of what it's going to look like as you're building. Since we're going to be leaving it open-ended, I'm going to be doing the build during the day just to kind of give us a little bit better daylight to see, and then just to kind of give us an idea of what it's going to look like as a finished product. So let's catch up with the build. I've placed some of these retro transportation stops faced backwards with this awesome window pattern here with a different broken window variant, as well as some fencing, and then just kind of filling it in with some wheat field and some of the gear apparatuses over here just to kind of give it sort of an old worn factory look. I surrounded it with some of the vines, as well as putting one of the lighthouse items there at the top, and then we'll go ahead once we finish in with some of these cave items facing backwards. I love this. It really does give a really great boulder effect, especially if you're going to be surrounding this area with water. It really gives it a really great coastal effect, I find. Yes, loving this so far. Okay, so we're going to get back up here and we're going to be placing our player house, and then we'll go ahead and do a little bit more terraforming to really make this build pop. Love it, love it. Okay, so for this house, I found after I placed it that I wasn't 100% sold on the shape of the house, so I ended up changing it at the end of the build to the more classic house style, which you'll see in the end. I went with the brown style to match the lighthouse. Just in case we choose to go with the daytime, I wanted the brown to kind of coordinate. And then we went ahead and popped in some trees and just some log stakes to kind of fill it in and give it that cottagecore vibe, as well as some of the mush partitions. I love the mush partitions, you guys. I feel like I've gone a little crazy with them on this island, but given that this is a cottagecore island, I feel like it's gonna work perfectly and definitely goes with the overgrown aesthetic. All right, we're gonna fill in with some of this worn board pattern with the dropped leaves. And again, once I get the house changed over, I think it's gonna look perfect. And we'll kind of give it an idea to what this perspective build is gonna look like once we can hop back over to the opposite side of the build with the pipes. I find that building with a perspective style build, having pipe travel is really, really key. Especially if you're placing items for a shadow build, it does help to be able to pop back and forth via pipe so that you're not having to climb up and down with your ladder. Okay, back to a little more water terraforming here. I'm gonna go ahead and cut away from a lot of this. Now, since this area is only gonna be accessible to the 3rd tier for the house area, this specific spot doesn't need to be accessible on the beach. So I'm gonna be doing minimal decorating on this back beach area, and then I'm gonna go ahead and do a lot of water terraforming here to cut away as much of the land as possible. I think the finished product is going to look really amazing, but one thing to keep in mind for these perspective builds, really pay attention to and get your camera out a lot, because I found for myself that when you're creating an island, I personally, whether it's dream addresses of my own or you guys's when I'm visiting, I like to take a lot of photo ops and pictures. So when I'm doing a perspective build, I do find it helpful to be able to get out the camera a lot, to frame everything in, to kind of get an idea of where I want to place the items and what spots I want to kind of make sure they are framed in for photo ops. So that's another tip I recommend when you're hopping back and forth between pipes to kind of check how everything is looking. Definitely take some pictures if you can on your camera to kind of get an idea of what you need to fit in the frame so that you're kind of setting everything up to look really beautiful for your finished product. Okay, just a few more finishing touches over here. I've slowly ebbed away at this, and I wanted to kind of keep this spot over by the river mouth open so that we could place a few more items over here, because this tiny little front part of the beach is still going to be visible, I noticed, from our lookout point. So we're going to place a boab tree over here and then kind of create a little abandoned shack, I suppose, over here using more of these retro transportation stops sandwiched together along with a simple panel over here, and then just a few other items like an old yacht, and then just kind of filling it in with some more wheat field items and a few things just to kind of give it a little bit of a nautical sort of look to go along with the lighthouse perspective. I think will be really cute. And then just to kind of give the idea that this is non-accessible, I'm going to put some jail bars over here for fun. And then I thought it would be kind of fun to put sort of like a height differentiation over here on this piece of land that juts out into the river mouth. I wanted to create a little bit of height, so I wanted to use some ruined arch and then kind of fill it in with just things like leaves and give it a little bit of a natural look by filling it in with things like this little duck decoy and, again, anything like little pieces of wheat field, just a few things to kind of give it a natural look, and then popping in this decayed tree here to fill it in. Yes, loving how this looks. So far, so good. I think this is going to be great, but to give a sneak peek, let's pop over to our lookout point over here. We're, of course, going to need to install the pipe so that it's hidden. I thought by cutting away the cliff, this would be the perfect way to disguise it, since we can't customize the color of the pipe, and they definitely stick out like a sore thumb. I thought it would be good to place a couple of wheat field items here in the front just to kind of cover it up. Perfect. I love this. You really can't see the pipe, and from a distance, I'm really loving how this lighthouse looks. Now, I sort of edited it out of the video, but I can assure you I did a lot of jumping back and forth throughout the process of building this perspective. I definitely jumped a lot back and forth in the pipe to kind of get an idea of lining everything up for where I wanted to place the house, where I wanted to place the trees. It's a lot of trial and error, but I promise you, if you can do that, you'll for sure have a really beautiful perspective when you're done. Just be patient with yourself, and remember that it's a work in progress. Keep in mind where you're starting from a lookout point over here. It's really great to kind of have an idea if you want to start from a 3rd tier perspective or a 2nd tier perspective. It will give you an idea of where you want to start out for your build as you're finishing everything up. Yes, okay, here is our house. Like I said, I went ahead and changed the coloration of the house and the style of it just to kind of match a little bit better. I liked how the peak of the house looked, the single peak from a distance, and I'm really liking how this came together. It's just super cozy, and I think having the house kind of alone over here on this secluded area is going to look really fantastic for the island. It really came together nicely, and I think once the trees come in full color for the end of the fall season, it's going to be absolutely gorgeous from a distance. I'm really thinking that for Maple Bow, we're probably going to upload the dream for probably mid to late November just to really make those fall colors pop. I've basically been looping through the month of November doing all of the building because I do a lot of time traveling while putting in bridges and inclines and things of that nature, moving around buildings. So I think for sure once we get to the end of doing all of our builds and decorating, I'll have to probably find a really great day for weather and all that on Maple Bell in mid to late November. All right, let's check it out one more time from the perspective over here from the finished product. I plan on putting a villager house over here, so I'll add in some more items to make this look super pretty once we're finished. But let's get the camera out so you can see this really pretty photo op we have over here. We have the ruined arch framing everything in over on the left. You can still sort of, if you pan over, see the little faux shed and the yacht. And then once I get that other area finished, I'll kind of give you more of a sneak peek. There's going to be a villager house down there, so I don't want to ruin the surprise for the next build on the channel. But yeah, I'm really loving how this came together, and I love the colors, love the natural tonation. I think that, again, this build can work really well for any time of day. This is what the daytime view looks like, but you'll see as we jump forward in time, it really does have a nice variation depending on what time of day you want to upload this for your dream. So I'm going to jump ahead in time so you can see what this looks like during golden hour, and you can see the stark contrast for how this perspective looks. Ooh, love it. Okay, so you can see this is definitely more of a shadowy effect for this build. You can see that it's just getting to the time where you can start to see the glow. The lighthouse isn't quite turned on yet, but you can still see the glow of the window for the house. You can still see the little chimney puffing smoke in the background, and you can sort of see the outline of the house and everything, and I really love the warm tones. It's perfect for a fall island. So if you're looking to do something like this for your fall island, I just really like the tonation. It's really warm and cozy, and really love this. We're going to jump to the evening time next so you can see how that looks. Right? Okay, I love this. So now you can see the lighthouse is in full motion. You've got the moving motion of the lighthouse, which I really love. It adds a lot. It's just a completely different tonation for this particular build. It definitely has a full shadowy effect over here, but it's still useful, and you can just hop back and forth for your house, so it's still fully effective and useful for your house itself. But I really, really love how this build came together. I hope y'all enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope it brought you some useful inspiration that you might be willing to take back to use on your islands if you're looking to do something new and creative with your player house. I know it's always fun to come up with different ways to utilize your house on your islands, and I'm really excited with what we're coming together and putting together on Maple Bell as we finish everything up here in the next few weeks. We're going to be doing a few more builds on this island before we wrap up and do the final tour. So if you're looking for a few more cottagecore overgrown style fall builds, please stay tuned for the next few weeks as we come up with a few more build ideas here on the island before we do the final tour, and probably do an ideas video to wrap up the island of Maple Bell before we jump into doing more of your island tours. I cannot wait. Thanks so much for watching. Wishing y'all an amazing day. Take care, and we'll see you in the next one.